think a lot of people would like to import other values into antitrust law besides economics. They want, there's concerns about, the platforms and speech, of course. There's concerns, particularly from, the progressive left about just the size of these companies, and they're, so big and they're so powerful. And particularly in the last year with COVID, there's just a raw concern about the size and reach of these companies. But as we've discussed, I think the properly understood, the consumer welfare standard is able to deal with any of these really most of these values as properly understood. Senator Michael Lee put out some tweets or a statement a week or two ago talking about how consumer welfare is properly understood is more than just about prices. It is about quality and variety, and companies compete on a whole range of metrics, of which price is just the most obvious. So there is room in consumer welfare to address, I think, a lot of the concerns that people have. I wanted to go back to something that Jennifer was talking about, and what would happen if these companies were to be broken up. She's absolutely right to highlight kind of the financing concerns. What would it mean for innovation if smaller startups aren't able to have an exit strategy? But I want to mention two other things in that regard. One is, I think people who are advocating for the breakup of these companies, I think, should keep in mind that the economy isn't static as is. There was a point in time where people thought that Microsoft was unassailable, that IBM was unassailable, AT&T, and on and on. And the truth is, in all these markets, but particularly in technology markets, it's a very, very dynamic economy. And if antitrust law does nothing and Congress does nothing, I think in 2 to 3 years you'll probably see a very different competitive landscape, and that's just because of innovation and of new entrants. Seen the growth of TikTok and Zoom just within the last year or so. So it's not like you only have 1 or 2 players out there. You already have 4 or 5 of these massive players and a lot of smaller companies out there. The second point that I wanted to make is it's not like the United States is operating in a vacuum here. We're competing in a global economy. I think Senator Mark Warner and Representative Ro Khanna have pointed out that it's actually a good thing that the world's largest technology companies are American companies. It would be not good for our economy or our national security if those companies were to be supplanted by China. And I'm not suggesting at all that we should give any of our tech companies a pass from antitrust law. They should be engaged in price fixing or anything else, and they should be held accountable. But the idea that we would change antitrust law and change 40 or 50 years of bipartisan solely to target these companies, when you have other global competitors out there who aren't necessarily friendly to our interests, is something that I think would be a concern to all policymakers.